Hi there. In this video, we're going to be looking at what to do and a few things to expect when your license plate gets stolen from your motorcycle during a pandemic. We're also going to cover what to do in case your bike gets impounded or towed. Some of this stuff might be totally obvious to you, but navigating the New York City Department of Motor Vehicles is not as easy as it might look. So there will be some good information in here, and hopefully it will answer some questions and ease your fears. And spoiler alert, it's not as hard as you think, but I do recommend you act quickly. Quick story, in May of 2020, I got pulled over for not having a plate, and that's how I learned that my plate had been stolen. So here's my recommended steps for you to take if your bike ever gets its plate stolen. The first thing is you want to get your bike off of the radar so it doesn't get towed. If your vehicle doesn't have plates, at least in New York City, I am told you can get a ticket, but my bike got towed twice. So what you should do is cover it or garage it. Basically make it so that no one can see if the plates are missing or not. Generally, cops won't mess with a bike which has a cover on it. I'm not sure the legality there, but in any case, don't let your bike be conspicuously without a plate. Number 2, get your paperwork in order and photocopy it. So this would be your license, registration, title. You may need your insurance and a police report, which I'll tell you about in a moment. The next step is to go to your local precinct and file a police report. They're going to ask you some facts like the date, where the bike was when the plate got stolen, and maybe a few other questions. And they should give you a signed copy of the report. You're going to need this later on to get a new plate. This would be police report MV78 in New York. The next step will be to get a new license plate. Now, you could go to the DMV. Due to COVID, the DMV for me was closed, and I learned later on that there are license plate services. This is probably not news to you, but it was to me. I don't know if this is just a New York thing, but if you're just trying to get a new license plate, this definitely beats standing in line at the DMV for a couple hours. So I would definitely recommend doing it this way. And I'll make sure to throw a link below to a place that I recommend, which was super fast. So when you go to get your plate at these license plate services, you will need to bring a copy of your title and the original copy of the MV78 police report. Again, make a photocopy of it because you may need it later, and I'll tell you in a minute why. I think you might need some other paperwork as well, but to the best of my knowledge, it's just those two documents. And lastly, you'll need to bring some money with you. The plates cost somewhere between maybe $50 and $100. I don't remember, but it was not more than $100. When all is said and done, you'll be handed a new license plate and you'll be good to go. And the last thing you'll want to do is get your plate on your bike and secure it with security screws that hopefully do their job, although if they want them, they'll take them. So that's all the info I have for you regarding taking care of your stolen plate. Before we move on to talking about motorcycle towing, I just want to say that watch out for bad info. Throughout this experience, I got a lot of conflicting or confusing information depending on which police officer I talked to, which impound lot person I talked to, DMV information that was on their website. So let's say as of July 2020, this information is current, and I hope that the legwork that I've done here will help you. And finally, one last thing is make sure you hang on to all the documentation that you've amassed here. The story doesn't really end here. Your old plate is still out there in the wild on someone else's bike as they go through tunnels and get fees and tolls and are potentially speeding and getting in trouble. So you're going to need all that stuff in case you need to dispute it later on down the road. So do remember to hold on to that. So what happens if your bike gets towed? In my case, my bike was towed twice. Well, the first thing is don't let your bike get towed. The way to do that is maybe keep it in a garage, cover it up, do something where it's not totally conspicuously obvious that the plate's missing from the bike. Normally, to locate a towed vehicle in New York, at least, you would call 311. However, 311 uses license plates to identify towed vehicles, which is not going to do you any good here. So it's going to come down to how recently your bike was towed. You can try calling the impound lot, and if the bike has been there a minute, they should have some record of it. If not, you're going to have to check with either your police precinct, or you may even need to call 911 This seems like the wrong thing to do, but I was actually advised to do it by the police precinct. So you're going to call 911, give them the last location that you knew where the bike was, and some cops are going to come out and meet you, and hopefully they'll have some information for you. It was different for me in both cases. The first case I had to call 911. The second case I had to actually call the impound lot. If your bike ends up at the precinct, according to the cops I talked to, the wheels are not, quote, allowed to touch the ground. Without a license plate, you are required to use a tow vehicle to remove your bike from their premises. I have heard stories that may or may not be true of people showing up the next day to deal with a different set of cops. Maybe the morning crew might be a little more friendly and allow you to take the bike home without it being towed. Your mileage may vary, but of course I'm not advocating you breaking the law by any stretch. To get a bike out of the impound lot, you're going to need to show up with the standard copies of paperwork, that being license, title, registration, birth certificate, everything that you got, who knows, and also a licensed tow company. I've been told that the tow company doesn't need to be licensed, but let me tell you, they checked all of my guys' credentials, and I wouldn't bank on them accepting anything but a licensed tow operator. I'm going to put a link below for an amazing tow company run by a gentleman named Damon. The company is Mad Transpo NYC, motorcycle towing and transportation. They were fantastic. Damon showed up on time in a good spirit, did a fantastically professional job, and also kind of eased my mind. There was a lot of stress going on, and it was nice to feel like I had a friend in that case. Definitely give those guys a shout if you ever need towing. But that's all the information that I have for you regarding motorcycle towing, and hopefully that helps you out in some way. Well, that about sums it up. So hopefully if you've had the unfortunate situation of having your plate stolen or having your bike towed, this answers some questions for you and eases the pain just a little bit. Thanks for watching. Check the links below for some helpful stuff, and keep the shiny side up.